Wildcard put up a half-decent fight, but it's not enough. Elevate, they do pull away with the 3 points, and with that, they have all but secured their spot at the Berlin Major. Obviously, still 2 games to go, so, I mean, like, we're definitely not going to jump ahead by any means, but with the history Elevate have, it's looking pretty good. Another team that, well, they secured a major spot back in Stage 2. They now go up against Fury. We're talking about the Knights. They're fighting for their opportunity to stay second place heading into the final 2 play days. And as mentioned, this was really the tipping point for them. Unfortunately, they couldn't go to Mexico due to visa issues back in Stage 2. Heartbreak for them. But now with Berlin on the rise, with the Knights coming back into form, Mandy, this is their opportunity, right? But they are coming up again against a pretty, I would say, formidable roster for Stage 2.
I really think that the Knights are looking forward to this Berlin Major. Juicy really spoke about how this roster is coming together, and he's expecting them to make this international appearance, especially with the pickup of Quiz and now bringing Stigs back onto the roster as well. All of them seem to be showing us that they're in better shape than ever before, and we're expecting them to take this match any match of the day to Fury, and I really think they can walk away with this one.
Dev, the Knights have really shown some pretty solid form in Stage 2, both in OCN and now in APAC South. Is this the best iteration we've seen of this roster?
Oh, that's a really good question. It's very hard to compare the Knights of now to the Knights 1 year ago, which, you know, I thought Knights 1 year ago was potentially one of the best teams in all of APAC. You know, they were first seeded directly to that Mexico Major, and they've had 2 roster changes since then. They've got Stigs, who has been phenomenal, Quiz, who has been coming into the role. He's a bit of a rookie, but funnily enough, the guy who's actually been topping the ratings on this team is Josh, who had a fantastic ace last week. He's also in the top 5 for clutches, in the top 5 for rating. This is him right here. And he's a bit of a quiet achiever sometimes. I think we used to talk about him a lot more, maybe a bit overshadowed once Stig started to really have big performances for this team. But I just think this is a really well-rounded team, firing on all cylinders. Probably, yes, at their peak form.
What's actually crazy to me before we move on to Fury, Juicy's right up there with Josh, 1.18 rating. What's insane about that? Juicy is the support player. He has statistically the highest percentage of plants down on the attacking side in the world right now from any of the major leagues. He is at the tippity top. So that, I'm not going to lie, that actually blows my mind. He is hitting some unbelievable form at the moment. But speaking of unbelievable form, well, I feel it's only fair that Fury do get their moment in the spotlight. They have literally performed, I would say, I don't even know how to put this, just well above expectations. All the games they've lost have been 7-5s. They lost to Wildcard, they lost to Gladiators, and they lost to the Direwolves. Will they lose tonight, Mandy? I feel like this roster, there's something about them at the moment that seems to be peaking.
They seem to be on the rise for sure, but I feel like the Fury that we've seen as of recent won't be able to take it against a team of the caliber like the Knights. The Knights are a team that we're saying that they could make the major. For Fury, it's not the same story. For Fury, we're saying this is a team on the rise from literally rock bottom. They weren't able to win out any matches in Stage 1, right? And so now they're showing us that actually they do deserve to be here. They can win out some games and they can play like a competitive team. But is it really enough to bring into this matchup? I don't think so.
Oh, Deb, do you back that in? Do you reckon this is just one mountain too tall?
Oh, look, let's be honest. Everyone here is thinking it, and Mandy's just saying it. Like, this is, in theory, like a very one-sided game. Knights are on the rise, as are Fury, but it's just they're kind of at different echelons. Now, Fury has had some great performances, like you said, Mandy, a lot of close 7-5s, I think particularly last week against Direwolves, who were the Stage 1 undefeated 21-point behemoth. Fury got 5 rounds off them, so I can see a world where they have a really close game against Knights, but a 5-7 gets you 0 points for Fury, so the big thing for them is just starting to finally push to that 6th round, push overtime. Win or lose, that's fine. Like, at that point, it's just stealing points away from Knights, who really can't afford to lose here. They might be in 2nd place now, but they've got IG, they got Wildcard, Gaming Gladiators, all these teams hot on their heels for that major spot.
It is pretty intense in that, the top 6 at the moment. But I have a little fun fact for you. Fury, 1-3, obviously, with only a -1 round differential. That is, I mean, that's kind of crazy to think about. Obviously, you know, you've already laid out that it's been 7-5s they've lost in, but that truly, I think, speaks volumes to where Fury were last stage. I think their last stage performance, they were like -19 or something absolutely absurd. It might have been
-31.
Oh, what? I was so far off. I went -19.
And then the next lowest was -10, and they were -31.
Oh my!
Like,
God.
Direwolves was +24. Fury was further negative than Direwolves was positive.
Oh wow, Fury! I was giving you a bit too much props for the last stage.
No, just go in on them, mate. Just tell them, let them know.
Damn, 31. I mean, that is just a ridiculous stat, and I think probably the biggest glow up that we've had in recent APAC history. I'd say they've really started to come into their own. But obviously today, big matchup. We'll have a look at the map veto now because this obviously can completely turn our conversation. I wouldn't imagine that it would, but we saw in the match just before, Wildcard left in Villa and Oregon, which were both two of the best maps statistically for Elevate. Dev, have the Knights or have Fury potentially messed up by any chance?
So Knights are undefeated on Villa, actually, whereas Fury have a 4-4 record. They played it a couple of times in their local league. If I'm trying to find the last time that Fury played this at an APAC level, it was in Stage 1, it was against Elevate, and they only won a single round. You compare that to Knights, you know, they played it in OCN, they won 7-3. They've played it a couple of times in OCN in Stage 1 as well, and they won that. They even won against Fury in Stage 1 as well, which was also a 7-1 victory. So, pretty cut and dried. Like, if you look holistically, yeah, Knights very much favored here. But then you start to have a little bit of recency bias and you kind of give Fury the benefit of the doubt and you'd expect, hopefully, a closer result.
Is the benefit of the doubt enough here, Mandy? I feel like no matter how much doubt we may have, I don't think that there's any benefits to going up against the Knights.
Especially against the Villa as well. I mean, this is essentially a rematch from Stage 1, right? Taking us directly back to the exact same map once again. But the Knights seemingly having the upper hand statistically. I mean, I think for Fury, we haven't really seen them play it yet. In APAC South, we haven't seen their newer form on this map as of now, and so I can only turn to the Knights and hope that whatever they brought against the last time they played Villa, which was against Ludovica back in OCN, where I think we watched Stigs get a 4K on a single window, and it was just it was a crazy match all around. If they bring that kind of Villa to this match, I don't really see a way in for Fury.
Well, I think that's probably the big thing right now is where is their in for Fury. You've seen a couple of great performances actually from Hajime, which if I think back to 2021, Hajime always seemed like he was in the mix but never one of their best players. However, Stage 2 has been phenomenal. That's probably not going to be enough to lean on him. I mean, the likes of I9, who throughout 2021 was probably statistically the best player we had in APAC next to Speakeasy, you know, he probably needs to step up here a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to sugarcoat it, mate. Like, 0.79 rating on I9, formerly known as Napier. He was one of the big hitters on Elevate, but he was one of those guys that would, like, either absolutely smash it out of the pass, or he would just go out on 3 strikes. You know, he was a big hitter, or he would do absolutely nothing. And unfortunately, for Fury, like, we've seen more of the latter rather than the former. And he is a lovely guy, and he really, you know, gives it his all. But at the same time, like, you need consistency on a roster like this, and that's what Fury needs as well. And unfortunately, it's just not what I9 has been able to provide. So that's definitely one of the things that we'll be looking at for this game. Will I9 be on? Will he be off? Because that does heavily dictate, you know, whether Fury is playing in a 5v5, I guess, without going too savage.
What do you mean without going too savage? You literally have just said Napier is a big hitter. He goes big or he goes home. That is literally what you've just said.
He goes big, so...
He does, but the big thing for me here is, like, how often is it? It just hasn't been enough here in Stage 2. And Mandy, that's probably been the biggest downfall for Fury, regardless of where this roster's at, is probably just the lack of ability to close out games. I feel like if you allow Knights into this game, this is just over, right?
Yeah, I think so as well. I think for Fury, they've shown us some pretty good form this stage, to give them some credit. Every time that we have a chat with Fury, which has actually only been once, but when they do talk to us, they do comment about how they're learning. Last time we spoke to them about their win on Bank, they were saying, okay, we've got to review that. We learned a lot from the strats of Wildcard, right? Every time that they play a match, a losing streak can only try and translate into a learning process and improvement, right? And I think that we've really seen that this stage, even though they haven't been able to hit their stride and get that 6th round, there's constant improvement every single matchup that we watch them in. And if they can try and bring it to the Knights, I'd be interested to see if they can do that.
The thing is here, Dev, is they can play spoils. Like Fury really are the team that could completely ruin the Knights' run at the moment. And I wouldn't say that maybe we would see Knights in a different light if they were to lose this matchup, but certainly with the way that Fury have been performing, it's not crazy to think about. So I am going to ask you, do you have a prediction here?
Knights is my prediction, but yes,
no way.
I agree with you that there's a big chance that Fury play spoils. We've talked about how many 5-7 losses they'd had, and that could easily slip over to a 6-8, which would take points away from Knights. Like in the first game today, we were talking about Wildcard and Elevate and how from here on out they have easier games ahead of them than the ones behind them. Whereas Knights, you've got Direwolves next week, and then you've got Gaming Gladiators on their final Playday. And Gladiators are not to be scoffed at. Particularly Direwolves is a really, really strong team, obviously, still gunning for a major spot. So for Knights, like, it doesn't get easier from here. It actually gets more difficult. And so they're going to be trying to run to keep pace with these other teams like IG, like Direwolves, like Wildcard, that are also gunning for the major spots. And there's a huge chance here that dropping any points to Direwolves will mean that Knights won't make the major. And the nature of the round robin format is we don't see that necessarily when it happens, but sometimes the car crash happens in slow motion and you just see it very gradually. You get little hints here and there, and dropping any points to Fury would absolutely be one of them.
It certainly would be, but we won't have to wait any longer in slow-mo. It's time to pass over to the heavy hitters of APAC South. It's Guz and it's Xenox.
Now, Guz, try not to be too savage, mate, all right? I know we're the heavy hitters, but don't be too savage. Big game coming up, obviously, Knights, Fury. It's been spoken at length by the wonderful crew on the desk. Always doing a tremendous job, all three of them. But Fury, they come into this one as the underdogs that do have a chance to maybe play spoil, which is the sort of storyline that has been spouted about.
Yeah, they do, but it's not going to happen. I do not see a world in which Fury are able to win this game.
He's confident.
The Knights, with the form they have, the confidence they have, and what we're hearing in the interviews, this has to be a regulation win. If not, they're not making it to the major. I'm not convinced otherwise. This should be just a walk in the park.
Yeah, the last couple of games, really, for Knights have been a bit of a walk in the park. 7-2 result over Wildcard, followed them by a 7-1 result against the Chiefs. We head to Villa, though, for our second game of the night here for APAC South. Fury, plain and simple and similar to Wildcard. They must win, but this time, Guz, there are no exceptions. If they lose, they are done. They cannot make the major. It's as simple as that. Zero, nada, out. If they win, 4% chance.
Doesn't sound very, very good to me.
It's better than zero. What that would also mean for the Knights, though, would be a bit of a disaster. And just quickly speaking on it, right, for the Knights, realistically, they've got 1 point extra over IG, Direwolves, and Gaming Gladiator. So as long as the Knights just win all their games, they go to the major, right? You can't say the same for IG. You can't say the same for Direwolves. So that is one big plus for the Knights as we see Hibana, Nook, and Valkyrie banned out here on Villa. So nothing really too crazy early on. But yeah, Knights, they really do just have the ability to just win their games and go to the major, which is something that, you know, Direwolves don't have, and lo and behold, they actually play each other next week. Direwolves versus Knights. Big game.
I would anticipate that game to be a little bit more closely contested than this one, but as is often the case, I could be looking very silly at the end of this one. Pulse to round things off, so a lot of information has been taken off the board here for the defense. In combination with that Valk as well could make things a little bit more tricky for the defense and force them to be a little bit more aggressive in finding that information. As for the attack, with Nook taken off the board, don't expect basement entries to be quite as prevalent.
Defenders, protect your bomb
Yeah, so
from being
Knights,
defused
they've
by
been a
attackers.
team that's been in hot form. They haven't dropped a game since the 23rd of June, which was against Elevate 7th round theme park, and arguably a bit of a disappointing result as well with that. So they're a team that has been able to be in arguably the best form we've seen from them, probably since maybe Stage 2 last year. And yeah, heavy favourites against a Fury team that has well and truly just completely reimagined their form here in Stage 2 compared to Stage 1. I mean, it's been a complete turnaround,
10 seconds
which has been
left
great to
before
see because you
insertion.
never really want to see a team go through what they did in Stage 1.
5 seconds left.
And while they did make a couple of roster changes, -1 round differential, they found a regulation win, a big one then against the Chiefs. It's been a much improved stage, but it's all been 5-7s like the desk was talking about. 5-7 loss against Wildcard, 5-7 against GG, 5-7 against the Direwolves. And those are great performances, and they were in all of those games. And they end up just kind of being honourable losses, essentially. They need to now just turn that around. Whereas the Knights in their last 2 games, 7-1, 7-2, they've been quite dominant. So which one are we going to get? Are we going to get that dominant Knights or that very, very close loss Fury? Feels like it can't be anything other than that.
It was AVG for the first round here on Villa, Sage and Quiz extending to the north. And that's exactly where Fury want to get a bit of a foothold. Does look as if Sage is pretty keen to fall off early. Spending some of those keeper barriers to just create some buffers between himself and these attackers who have now entered inside of bedroom. And it's, yeah, pretty straightforward entry at the moment, really. Not much to note. Josh down below could pose a threat, but I think the most concerning thing for the Knights is there's still 10 drones up for Fury.
Yeah, and I wonder here, is I9 just going to maybe try and play the role of the Nook roaming down below and trying to just sweep under Nook has been an operator that's been quite prevalent on Villa recently. In fact, actually on a couple of maps recently, so do wonder if that's going to be something to sort of keep in mind. The Dockerby coming out, trying to find a bit of information. Push cleared, 90. Now being pushed by Dark. Juicy's able to fall back, playing that clash. Fortunately falls rather easily in the end. Dark really well played. Like Cole is outside on the rappel as well at 90, and it's Fury that find the opening kill. Sage looking to plug that hole in the wall with the keeper barrier. Quiz holds in vault. We've got 60 seconds left in the round.
Reloading.
Still a win though for Fury. And a really clean and efficient way of dealing with the Flash. Juicy is extremely strong on that operator. Not only playing him mechanically, but feeding information for the rest of the team in a cohesive manner. Pressure now on the rest of the team to step up, and Sage is in a very dangerous position. Side of Study almost makes it work as Quiz elsewhere gets picked. The swing from Sage is good. The second, even better. And now it's in round 2.
Yeah, sharp from Sage. Holding the Study position here for the Knights, and now they can play advantage as well. But Dark inside of Vault, and then Light Colas found that kill into Sage. Easy kill on the play behind bar. Dark low. Same with Light Colas. Josh can win these. Full health. One has to plant for the next 5 seconds. He pushes up. He has no information. No idea where they are. And with that, the plant goes down successfully. Like Colas and Dark well and truly can play off of each other here. Inside of AVA for Josh, finds the first kill. Knows the play maybe inside of Vault. Peeks and swings. It's Dark that finds the kill though. And it's Fury that find the opening round. They kick us off here on Villa.
Given the start that Fury did have on the attack there, clearing the clash and having an okay sort of presence around the objective, probably getting a little bit closer than it should have there, and that was off the back of Sage, inside of Study. Huge 2K, actually giving the Knights the advantage, but then the entry in towards the site was really strong, and Dark with the LMG, very hard to see him losing out that 1 versus 1. So, a good start for Fury. I think, again, the Knights, considering they lost the clash, did an okay job in trying to recover that round, but probably not in, obviously, the favoured position. We'll see them quickly rotate.
Well, really, really good stuff for Fury. And again, we keep harping on it. It's been a great stage for them in terms of the, the overall matches, 7-5s. Not a bad result. They're not getting beaten up like they were in stage 1, but a large testament to that has been their ability to play well in rounds. Right, like they're not getting completely beaten up convincingly in rounds. They're in their rounds, they're in their games, and that's why their matches obviously have always been able to go to 7-5 at minimum, unless they've won out convincingly against the Chiefs. So this has been a yeah, big testament to them this stage, that they've been a far more competitive unit as a group of 5 players together. They just haven't been able to have that kind of night where their opposition is like an extra 5 or 10% off, and they're just, the 7-5 loss becomes a 7-5 win. That is just something. They're not quite able to maybe get enough 50-50 moments, those 1v1 clutches to go their way, to just flip the result of the entire match itself. So that's probably the next growing point and the growing stage for Fury going into stage 3, is to start to get a few more of those 50-50s, turn those 5-7s into 7-5s, and become a competitive team in terms of results and winning games rather than just in the game. But in terms of stage 2, it's been a big success for them. So for them, it's all about building on that in stage 3. Sage makes his way up top red stairs here on the defense for the Knights, over towards landing, and obviously over towards stat trophy here for the second round, which Fury are doing a decent job of at least getting decent control down below.
Quite an aggressive spread though on the top floor from the Knights. Probably looking to cut down a little bit more on that drone utility as Josh probes around for any drones scattered. Sage as well, holding down red stairs with the, pardon me, a nice little angle down landing.
Bomb located by attackers.
He won't find much though. A lot of the attention, a lot of the focus from Fury over towards bedroom and also down below, opening up the opportunity for vertical play, whether it be with nades or even ash charges, for example. Stigs over towards Brits. Don't mind that keeper barrier. Good exchange for a deployable shield and allows him to get a little bit more aggressive. Survives that swing though.
Yeah, traded out health-wise there, Stigs and BG Man, so not too bad. I think they're actually pretty much dead even off of that little trade. You see over the wall, it's Astro, still has that shield up. Minute 10. Quiz is wondering where does he throw out that Kiba barrier. Minute left. Quiz though extremely low, and that's going to be a big detriment, whereas those Adrenal Surges available still for Dark. He uses 1 already, has still 2 available, can get BG Man back up, but probably wants to save it. BG Man bites the kill onto Stigs, maybe got a little overzealous in that position, pushing in towards the bedroom. 45 seconds left, and it feels like this is a pivotal point here. Juicy in Astro. Can he survive? No. And everything will start to fall now for the Knights, you would think. It should be going the way of Fury. Nitrocell from Josh. He actually took out Sage! Not the player he was expecting to find with that Nitrocell. And that's going to be the round, the second round now for Fury.
Yeah, really good start from Fury and making Knights really look second grade at the moment. Question obviously now is, that's the 2 primary sites done. Can the Knights return to them and show improvement? Throughout the stage, the Knights have shown they can see pretty significant improvement over the course of a single match, but that's exactly what they need right now. To be able to go back to AVG, get around on the board. They're going to use their tactical timeout, so there's really no excuse for them to show some improvements, because at the moment, Fury are getting a lot of this map control the way they want, and honestly, as basic as it sounds, a lot of these POVs we're seeing from the Knights, when it comes to crunch time and they need to win ones, they are simply just missing a lot of critical shots. You see Juicy there, you saw the Nitro down below as well from Josh. I don't know, something just feels really disconnected about the Knights at the moment.
It's only 2 rounds in though, Guz. So, but you're not wrong. I do agree the first 2 rounds sloppy, and Fury have, been able to punish that. And that's kind of what I was mentioning a little bit of, is when a team is 5 or 10% off, right? If they don't bring their A game in APAC South, everyone's capable of beating everyone, right? So if Knights come into this game and just think Fury's going to be a pushover, or we don't have to give 110%, they're going to lose. Like, Fury are that good of a team now. They're not stage 1 Fury, where maybe you could get away with that. They're really good in the actual rounds. They're strong, hard to push over. And you can see how clean they have been so far on the execution as well. Getting in, getting flanked down, finding these picks, putting pressure on the Knights. Not necessarily giving a whole lot the other way in terms of trying to be aggressive. If you're bringing a clash, you're not probably going to be looking for spawn peaks and roaming heavy. You're going to be more on-site defense. So the Knights almost, in some way, reminding me a little bit of Elevate on Oregon to start with, where they were quite confined on site, quite tight, very defense, and not really giving a whole lot. And that's allowing the opposition in with a bit of a look in.
Clash didn't work very well for the Knights in their first attempt. After that tactical, they're backing it in to have them back in for the second. That is probably the pivotal decision for the Knights on this defense. If the clash works, we'll be able to stall out all the time. Make the entry really challenging, soak up a lot of utility. But if it doesn't work, especially really early on in the round like last time. Well, that's just one less gun for the trade. Fury on the flip side, they bought the Zofia once more, and we saw the impact that had, the concussions, the ability to disrupt the shield from Juicy. Saw him torn to shreds. And I very much anticipate if Fury, if they don't already know there's a clash, once they do, will be looking to hunt him down relentlessly with that Zofia.
And a long, long way to go, though, in this game. We've seen so many matches before where, you know, the underdog starts well, they win the first couple of rounds, and then we see the favorites really fight back and look like the team we expect. Josh on the roam. This is okay from the Knights. This is fine. Josh can be a thorn in the side of Fury. As Dark setting up, I think, a bit of a flank watch drone for this specific push from Josh. And if that actually plays out as I think it may, if they get the jump onto Josh, it really opens up the rest of ABG as a 5-on-4. But the only problem here is that there's only 90 seconds left.
Certainly doesn't feel as commanding as the first attempt, but it hasn't obviously slipped from their grasp either. Still a decent amount of time here, a decent chunk of utility remains. Flank watch also established with those claymores, and I think that may be Volt getting opened by Salma as Lycolis deploys those. Also over towards top brown, it's pretty cruisy, and the wall actually getting denied there a little bit by Quiz, the Electro Claw juggle. I think a Salma was added on top of that, and that didn't land. So either way, it's been actually quite messy overall here.
Well,
From the attack, and Josh is also on the flank.
Don't shoot it, you can get past this one. No one's going to be on drone here, and Josh gets in through bathroom. 45 seconds, the flank will be successful. Not a whole lot of on-site control either for Fury. This round shaping up to go the way of the Knights. Unless something crazy happens, it should be a free kill for Josh, and a couple more to follow. The Knights will get the opening round in this match here on Villa. They'll be on the board, even if they do find this kill onto Josh. Only 30 seconds left. If he's in the hand of Lycolis, BG Man swings, but they still have to deal with Juicy on Clash, on site as well. Not happening with so little time. And then you've also got Stiggs up close as well. He can just swing into the vault, loses out to Lycolis. 12 seconds left. Are they going to? Surely not. Be able to have something happen crazy? No, it's not going to happen. No time. 2v1. BG Man out the hallway. And it's the Knights that get their first round here on Villa.
Yeah, two big improvements there from the Knights. I think it was pretty evident. The Clash staying alive, posing a threat over towards landing. And then you had the Kaid, I think it was Quiz, posing a big, big threat on that vault wall. Yes, there was an entry that was opened up, but it was only a prone hole. And really lacked the exposure in towards sight needed there for that push. And yeah, on top of that, the flank. And it was a pretty toxic concoction there for Fury to swallow, and the Knights bounce back. They use the tactical timeout really, really well. Yep. And they'll just be wanting to flow this on now. This is another site they've lost and now re-attempting, and much like the last, tidy up Astro a little bit. Don't allow your players down below on Vert have more of a negative impact than a positive one. Just small adjustments like that, and it'll be up to Fury then on the flip side to find a way around that.
You know, I think this is where Knights have matured as well as a team, probably over the last, I want to say 3 months or so. They've just seemed more cool and calm, collected under the pressure. You know, not just sort of teetering when things are not quite going their way. I think in the past, maybe even Stage 3 last year, probably as an example, you could probably see them, you know, sort of melt under the pressure a little bit and sort of lose their heads. But you know, early timeout, first 2 rounds, not even remotely close to what we generally expect from the Knights. So they, you know, they call it early, they switch on, they get Josh on the flank in the 3rd round, start to make things happen, try to dictate the game a bit more on their terms. And you can see the turnaround in just 1 round. So full credit to the Knights. But now for Fury, it's like, okay, they've woken up. They gave us a 2-round handicap. How can we capitalize from here? This is going to be a close game from here on out. So that's the mantra here now for Fury, is that the Knights have woken up, and it's not going to be easy from here on out.
They're going for the same attack though. Bedroom, up above, kitchen and dining, down below. I9 on the Ash can use those charges to clear utility off the walls or elsewhere, maybe even clear players. And Dark, with those grenades as well, will be a threat. The Knights electing not to directly contest, but Sage is lurking in basement, so he could be a threat of sorts later on. Stigs, bricks. Sense of deja vu. That's cleared by EG Man, the Rotero. Good use of that utility. Very much a stalemate at the moment. Things will really start to kick into gear, I think, once these players down below for Fury go for a play. But it's Stigs to go for the first, and it's BG Man on the balcony who will die.
Stig's even just seeing that drone sort of go by, and he's already shown the capability of just pushing into bedroom and getting into these aggressive positions, trying to find their kills. Hasn't necessarily worked all the time in the first couple of rounds, but finds some success here. Astro last time for Juicy was not a good moment for him. Losing out, allowing Fury to sort of overwhelm from that position. All these little choke points that Fury were able to sort of overwhelm last time on Stat Trophy in the second round is being defended more vigorously now by the Knights. And time starting to drain as well. 50 seconds left. Juicy timing again. This time he falls again. In Astro, Quiz to be the reinforcement, but he can't really get into a good position. Fury have an entry point. 4 versus 4. The swing though from Quiz on point. Headshot onto I9. And it's advantage once again for the Knights.
Josh and Red. Oh, Dark. The double flick. Eventually traded though. Stigs and Quiz in the 2 versus 1. Hajime inside. Has control, but Quiz. Another quick flick. And the Knights able to recover that site.
And a really good showcase for what Quiz can do on this team and for this team in the future. You know, it hasn't quite been easy for him over the course of the first, 4 matches or so here for APAC South. He's on the lower end in terms of rating, in terms of entry, in terms of KD. You look at all the numbers, they're in the red, but you know he's got the talent. And sometimes when you've got the talent, it doesn't necessarily work out well for you straight away, but in the long run, if you stick with it, you can start to see the fruits of that, and you're going to see that with Quiz. That's the kind of player he is, 5-3, and in some ways you just need a bit of confidence that you can do it at this level. You've got to remember for Quiz, a big step up, guys, over the last 6 months from basically OCL to APAC, like straight away. So you've got the talent there, you've just got to be patient with it, and that is the long-term success for the Knights. We see it in this game, just a glimpse of how talented he is.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's obviously going to take him time to find his gear, and slowly, week by week, Quiz is improving. And I think many would probably agree, still a long way away from his potential, which
5 seconds left.
who knows just how sky high it could end up being. It'd be great for him and the team to qualify for the major, and the experience that we gain there would be incredible. But
Yeah, for sure.
obviously, that's not a shoo-in. And neither is this match at the moment. Actually, a lot closer than I first anticipated, but the Knights, heading into round 5, I think have a pretty clear advantage, at least on the primary sites. But this is where things get interesting, right? This is the first time seeing the tertiary, and the Knights on their first attempts on these defensive sites have looked quite weak, where they're not adapting enough on the fly, only being able to correct those mistakes on a second attempt. So this is a good opportunity for Fury to come out of the gates here, show what they've got on this attack, and Dark is just sending it. And this is, I love this. Try and throw the Knights into disarray.
Oh, yeah, Sage had no idea. Straight into living now for Dark, and then I9 finds the kill onto Quiz. He can push in through sheets, although Juicy up close should be able to find a kill, and does so. The response from the Knights. It's Swift! Oh, he's thrown in the hallway, prone by I9. Josh got the trade. It's a 2 versus 2 with 2 minutes. How often do you see that as Lycolas from the low ground finds the kill onto Stigs, and a headshot at that? What a round that is taking place. We've still got 1:50 in a 2 versus 1.
And Hajime is on the other side of the map. That was an explosive start to that round. And depending on how cautious Fury want to be, there still might be something in this. The mute jammer causing issues. Lycola's probably not getting as much information as he'd like. Josh?
I was back in Josh here. I honestly think he is that kind of player that wins these quite often. And if they don't have a lot of information on him, and he's got the ability to create some ones, you back him in almost. The one thing that's still a big positive for Fury, firstly time, and they've got drones on both Lycolas and Hajime. So getting information, critical.
Oh!
Here, there's a shot! A shot in the dark from Josh, finds the headshot. Lycolas responds quickly though, and finds the trade. He doesn't waste any time. and Fury find a third round here on Villa.
Almost. He almost was able to clutch that one out. A lot of action in that round to unpack. But the most critical storyline, Fury again getting the jump on an objective. The Knights won't reattempt though, instead go back to AVG. Probably the most sensible decision. They can back in the Clash once more. A site which wasn't successful on their first attempt, but the reattempt was miles better, and Fury honestly didn't really have much
I think it's
left
fun
in
to
the
get
bank.
off the Clash in general. I think overall, in terms of the entire landscape of the game, and for Juicy as a player, get him off the Clash and get this man fragging, because he's been in some tremendous form recently. If you look at some of the stats that, and I know actually, I think Rob, Big Stats Brain Rob actually brought it up on the desk, but you know, Juicy has been an incredible player. Actually the highest rated player on the Knights at the moment. I know he mentioned the plants, and we'll see a little bit of that in the next half, but he's also +5 KD. You know, he's got a nice 0 entry, which, believe me, that's not actually a bad thing. So I think get him off the Clash, get him on a gun at this point. I mean, it's the last round of the half and it's too late, but I think that's actually been one area that's maybe been a bit of a letdown for the Knights.
The thing that's perplexing is the best counter Fury have shown against the Clash is the Zofia. Where is she? Why are you not playing her? Instead, they're going to back in the Ying as the pocket to see if maybe that can produce a play, which would suggest a more direct hit to maybe prevent the Clash from screening out the map. But Fury are entering from the same spot they have been in the last 2 attempts. So the entire game plan here, for me, does not make sense from Fury if the Clash is posing some of the issues that we're seeing on our end. Maybe they're seeing it differently and don't suspect the Clash is going to be a big player in this round, but it goes one of two ways. You're either going to look like an absolute genius if you make it work, or you're going to look really silly. I mean, neither of the operators having an impact there on the entry. Dark gets the first. He's been looking incredible with the LMG in this first half, and yeah, the Knights just can't trade it.
There's probably some out there that think anyone with the LMG on Finker right now could probably look sharp. We saw OJ put it to good use in the last game too. It's like Collins with a Claymore onto Stigs. It is falling apart for the Knights on Villa. Too much of the red wine in the basement, and they're looking drunk in this first half.
Not bad. Yeah. Josh though, he's been looking pretty sharp. No hangover from him, and neither for Quiz. I9 down, continuing his poor form. This is where Juicy on the Clash. It's make or break. Can he hold back this attack for long enough? Can he allow Quiz and Josh to make some big plays in this round?
Yeah, it's good that you sort of brought up that. I think if they play off of each other here, Josh and Quiz more than capable as fraggers to utilize that Clash shield. It's only a 3 versus 4, right? So it's not impossible. Still a minute left. A bit more information. Juicy holding that landing position. Josh just coming out of sheets now and making his way up red stairs. 50 seconds left. There's a ping. There's a player. There's a kill. There's now a 3 versus 3. Suddenly now it's looking like an opportune time. There's the gun from Juicy. Get it in his hands and he'll find kills. The Knights are drunk no more. They've woken up from their slumber and they close out this half. Boy, what? Basically, a round of 2 halves in a nutshell. What a start we've got here on Villa. 3-3.
Yeah, that... I don't want to be the Debbie Downer, but that was an incredibly messy round for both teams. The entry, the jump out into a Claymore, the no Clash counter, which ends up costing the attack the round, no flank watch. Just, I don't know, some weird things going on. But look, it's entertaining. It's certainly interesting, and it's a welcome change of pace, especially for Fury, who are coming out the gates relatively strong here. 3-3 scoreline, difficult to split the two. Knights have shown that their initial attempts on objectives have been weak, but their ability to adapt has been really strong. Fury have shown the initiation on a lot of these sites in that first half to come out of the gates really strong, but then faltering and not being able to adapt quite enough. So we'll see if that dynamic continues into this second half.
Well, this is where we see now in the second half, Knights on to the attack. Juicy has been the best planter in APAC South. Second best planter is actually BG Man, Guz. So we've got the two best planters in the game here. We did see, I think, 2 plants in the first 2 rounds from Fury, but then onwards, I think it was all eliminations for what was a pretty almost TDM-like half. Not often you see a 2v1 with 2 minutes to go, but yeah, here we are. It's APAC South in some ways. You almost expect the unexpected. What do the Knights have on the offense? Because Fury are here to play. No longer the pushovers from stage 1, but obviously with their own aspirations of making a late charge for the major. To do that, they need all 3 points here. All 3 of them. 2 won't be enough, Guz, that's for sure. In fact, if they get 2, it's a 0.2% chance to make the major, so not happening.
2 minutes remaining though here in the opening round of the second half. Knights on the attack. Fury seeing if they can place spoils here. Not much action to speak of in the opening phase of this round, just a bit of groundwork from the Knights. A much more direct approach over towards Study. GC does have the diffuser on the bedroom side of the map, but unlike Fury, they're not dedicating tons of manpower to clearing that. Instead, their focus, I'm assuming, will be Brown Stairs. That's been forfeited already by Fury. The Knights can get that control. And you can see I9 once more rotating that shield. Fury anticipating it.
Such a stark contrast to the first half. We've got a minute left in this round and it's still 5v5, no real engagement. Things have slowed down and Caster Curse. Of course, there's the opening kill. Sage finding BG Man. Quiz finds, I thought for a second maybe, found I9 sitting in the toilet past living, but not to be. And that could be a difference maker. I9 is getting that information. He may push out here and look to find this kill,
There's a drone,
but he's a little bit slow.
There was a drone right at the doorway, so he should be spotted the moment he goes out. Gets the drone though, falls off. It's actually fallen apart a little bit here for the Knights. The control that they wanted has been a little bit slow. With 30 seconds, they still have keeper barriers to deal with, deployable shields, and the players obviously staring them down on these crossfires. So this should be a Fury round.
4 versus 3, 20 seconds. Stigs, one last nade. Juicy on the other window, gets naded in basically. Can't find the kill onto the player inside of Bolt. Stigs now pushes, same with Quiz. Now from Study, waits for the player to stand up. It's I9. And while he does stand up, he dodges those bullets. Dark falls to Stigs, but he's the only one left. Doesn't have diffuser either, and no time. Fury, they take yet another round away from the Knights. They make it 2 of the last 3 rounds. They take the lead once again here on Villa.
Well done by Fury. They're playing into their utility, still left standing. I counted in that little final phase at least 2 to 3 keeper barriers, 2 deployable shields, still left standing. I don't quite understand what the Knights' objective in that round was. Clearly it wasn't to find utility, and the grenades that were used didn't find kills either. So they went for probably the more risky option, I guess. It didn't pay off. They pay the price. And I think they'll know that. That was clearly a big issue for them in the final stages of that round. And again, something we'll be tracking for the remainder of this match. Can the Knights step up their game, deal with this utility in a better fashion? Because Fury played into it very well.
Just feels like, in all honesty, Knights are just sort of hanging on a little bit as well. Fury have been, I think, arguably the better team. Maybe there's been some better moments from the Knights at times, and that's been able to get them certain rounds. And I mean, Josh is on a bit of a heater as well, 10 and 6, really leading from the front. But I think as a collective team, guys, it's Fury that has been the better team. Better orientated team as well. And so far, they would deserve the points here. And you know what? It would be, honestly, quite deserved for a stage that has been a lot of near misses and a lot of 5-7s. Probably deserve a little bit more from this stage 2. Such a vast improvement from stage 1 for Fury. And it keeps their hopes alive for the major. 4%, but does keep it alive. And just quickly as well, a loss for Knights does not, of course, see them eliminated. they go down to a 23% chance to make the major versus 62% if they win in regulation. It's a big, big swing for them. Opening kill and traded back by Dark, who now also cracks double digits, but they lose Lycolis instantly, and there's another that falls. We had a 2v1 with 2 minutes to go. Now it's a 2v4 with 2 minutes to go.
Such is this match so far, where both teams aggroing in the first minute. And for Fury this time, they are on the receiving end of it. And that's why it's just so difficult to get a read on this match at the moment, because in the first round, right, Fury able to maintain their man count, maintain their utility, and play into it. This time it's just completely crumbled apart. Now, what has instigated that? Do Fury now feel the need to get back in the face of the Knights, expecting them to read in to the way they played that last round? So tricky to get that read, but what we know for sure is the Knights, they're going to win this round. It's going to take a minor miracle from Hajime at 9th. Main player is already being forced back, BG exposed on site. So I think the Knights will very much welcome this reprieve, this round. Not quite, falling on their lap, but well and truly going their way. We hold that thought for a moment as Hajime lines them up.
I thought he could get another one. Oh, he did almost line them up, but not quite. Just a slight little bit off. I had the same thought as you for that split second, but boy, millimeters away from maybe finding 2 kills there and forcing a 1v1. Not to beat, Knights do take the round. What probably should have been rather uneventful ended up actually becoming quite eventful towards the end of it, but nevertheless, they do get the round win. 4-4 on the scoreboard. Who would have thought, really, that this particular game was going to be this close, this tight, round for round?
This game is it's a bit stressful. It's a little bit stressful because it's just so difficult at the moment to, from this point, I just can't tell you who's looking better. It's just been all over the place, whether it be from round to round or even over the course of the round, where teams are finding it tricky to hold on to an advantage or maybe seeking an advantage where one doesn't need to be found. It's a little bit all over the place, but round number 9, we'll see how this one plays out. 4-4 the scoreline, and we've headed, I believe, to Kitchen. But Fury with a pretty extensive roam up above, the Sawyer gates up, reinforcements as well. And I would presume the Knights with the lineup they've brought are going to be pretty keen to try and clear that and get some domination above, especially at that stage.
Both teams have been able to win 2 rounds in a row. Fury the first 2, then Knights the following 2 after that. But since then, it's been back and forth, 1 for 1. Gone to all of the sites, but only once for Kitchen Dining, which was a win for Fury. Really just doesn't feel like it could get any closer than this right now. Remembering though, the Knights have taken their tactical timeout already early on. That was back after the conclusion of round 2. He's inside a study. Almost had a close encounter early on, but not to be. Fury fall back. Moving towards site. Whilst holding up above as well. Sage on the rappel. Juicy and Stigs on the eastern side push here for the 9th round. And Quiz and Josh will obviously making their way over from the south side. Clearing above.
Stark contrast to the last round where pacing was incredibly fast. This one a lot more standard for Villa. Fury fall off. All 5 members on that first floor. That vacates the second floor now for the Knights. They'll just be making sure that it is in fact clear, and Stigs will be a big player in this round. That sledge can open up so many lines of sight down below and towards the objective. Also has a grenade. Keep in mind as well, Sage has the breaching charges too. So that's going to rain hell from above onto Fury, but Lycolis counters it with a fantastic Nitro onto Quiz.
Again, Fury just find an avenue to get that kill. They're just scrapping and fighting in this match to get everything that they can. Knights, of course, trying to be clean and flawless, but in some ways it's a little bit predictable. But Stigs finds the kill on the Dark. Nice little close swing from Lycolis with the SMG. On the beautiful second shot as well to follow. One down below, one above, and then Sage too. With a nice shot down the stairs. We're getting some nice kills in quick succession in this 9th round. Still, advantage for Fury. And Sage and Josh not close to that diffuser.
Josh really needs to step up here. He has the LMG in hand. He can be the one that makes this play through China in towards Kitchen and try and mow down these defenders. Instead, goes over towards Dining, lands shots onto the shoulders of BG Man, who doesn't fall. I9 stands strong, and that's a really impressive round there from Fury.
Well, it all started with that Nitrocell as well onto Quiz, and it's kind of been the way that Fury have been able to sort of continue to find these avenues of success in these rounds, just little moments and little wins, and that goes a long way with a minute left, shaping up to late round execution, and then that as well from like Colas, following it up with a very quick shot. So you get the Nitrocell, then you get like Colas with a quick double bang, and suddenly the round is looking quite good for Fury. So little moments, those little 50-50 moments going the way of Fury over the course of this entire stage. When you're losing 5-7, 5-7, 5-7, it's those moments that typically don't quite go your way, and yet we're seeing it in this match. And it is probably what's indicating to me to maybe being a Fury win. They are 1 round away from match point. Knights are somewhat on the ropes here. They don't lose a spot to the major. Their chances do go down. They do have ways of getting those chances back up in the last 2 play days, but they no longer will have destiny in their hands, guys, as we like to say, or at least I like to say. They won't have that anymore. Direwolves, IG, they will have that, not the Knights.
Certainly a big round here then. And the Knights, look, as much as it pains for me to say it as a fellow Australian, this is not the best we've seen on this stage, which is really quite disappointing. We have seen the Knights continually show big improvements from week to week. They have really stepped it up this stage. And for whatever reason today, it just hasn't quite been clicking. And of course, not taking away anything from Fury, who have actually played overall actually really nicely throughout. It's just the Knights. We're just not quite seeing that same level we've become accustomed to over the course of this stage.
Well, I think to sort of add on to that, and while I do agree with you, I think it's just the fact that Fury have been able to be the team that's really dictating the tempo and generally having the game on their terms. It's scrappy, right? It's not clean. If you go back and look at the last couple of games that Knights have played in APAC, it's been clean. It's been flawless. It's all been methodical, right? It's been by the book, and that works for a team like the Knights who are clearly in form. But they're in a dogfight right now, right? You throw that book out the window. And that's what I think is playing to Fury's advantage right now. They're getting these Nitrocell kills. They're getting these, random swings. They're being aggressive at times and then slow at other times. I think they're just playing a little bit better than the Knights right now. And the Knights still have a chance to fight back, but they've just got to fight back dirty.
Josh is hearing that call and sneaks up Astro's stairs, but he doesn't get rewarded. Dark, watching that angle of all of them. Very, very disappointing there for Josh, who I think made a really good play. Just couldn't quite connect the dots at the end there. And Dark, who's been playing exceptionally well so far, 11 kills, just adding on to that tally. The Knights needed to try and get dirty in this round, but unfortunately it's not rewarded.
But again, it goes back to what I said in the last round, those 50-50s. Stiggs, he does not win that one again. It's those little moments that are just going the way for Fury. Sage in a 1 versus 5, not happening. Flawless for Fury. Match point for Fury, and a big upset on the cards.
I honestly can't believe what I'm watching right now. The Knights are trying their very best to show initiation, to pounce on the defense, and Fury, so switched on, are winning all of these key engagements right now and not allowing the Knights to have any opportunity, any win conditions in these rounds. They now have acquired a 6-4 lead. Very, very surprising result we're seeing right now. Still need to close it out though, and over to AVG we go.
Attackers need to locate.
So guys, at the start of this game, right, I was in chat.
Oh no.
And I was like, you know what? I'm going to put all my channel points onto the Knights. Said it in chat, and I said to everyone that Fury's going to win because I put all my channel points on the Knights. GG. So hopefully there's some out there that played into that and put their channel points on Fury, which I did see actually got quite a lot of votes. So clearly not as much of an upset as maybe we're making it out to be. Fury, of course, have been incredible this stage, but still an upset nonetheless.
Yeah, as you can see in the graphics, 2nd versus 7th heading into the day. And at this point, it is actually quite a bit of a gap, 5 points.
Attackers are moving out to locate a bomb and
Fury
defuse
with
it.
only the single win. Knights had 3 heading into this Playday. So I genuinely still think it is an upset. I was so convinced that the Knights were going to make this match look way easier than they're doing right now and would be able to win it. But at the moment, it's actually very tricky to even see them pushing into overtime. Fury have that 2-match point advantage. They continue to dictate the pace of the game, which I am so surprised they've been able to do. In stage 1, they couldn't dictate the pace of a single round, never mind a match. And they've been doing it really well here. And the Knights, I think, have been caught off guard a little bit and just struggling as much as they can to get back in. And everything they're trying is being punished. And that just must be such a frustrating spiral for them to be dealing with right now.
Attackers
You
have
just know the
located a bomb.
adrenaline would be surging through the lads for Fury as well. I know that they had that win against the Chiefs earlier on in the stage, back in Playday 2, but this is arguably about to be their biggest win. It feels like in APAC South, remembering what stage 1 was like for this team. Of course, you know, 2 different players on the roster back when they had Producer Boom and Spacehead, but 0 wins from 7 games, not even an OT loss, guys, just straight 7 losses, a -31 round differential. I mean, what a turnaround for this team to now taking down 2nd place Knights. Massive result for them, massive result for the organization of Fury and for these players. And Dark leading the way in this game, up to 12 kills. Sage falls early. The Knights are just faltering. So much good news for them in recent weeks, but it's falling by the wayside. Kill by kill, it's Fury that are about to find their 2nd win of the stage and throw top 2 in disarray for a spot to the Berlin Major. It's anyone's up for grab. It's Direwolves, it's IG, it's still Knights, and it's still Fury that can make their way to the Major. But for this game, Fury are your winners in a stomping fashion to close it out flawlessly. Fury, they are here to contend. They're not here to make up the numbers. They take down the Knights 7-4.
Sometimes in Siege, you make your own luck, and that is exactly what Fury did today. They brought not just their A game, they brought their S game and took the Knights head on. Fully respect the way in which they approached this game, and they are rewarded. 7-4, a huge victory, keeps their chances of the Major alive, and it totally